Hey, everybody. Welcome into the back room. I'm Andy Ostroy. We have Paul Begala back with us again. We'll chat with Paul about the elections in just a moment. But first, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening, and we'd love to hear your comments. So email us at backroomandy@gmail.com and or post on our social media, and we'll read some feedback next time. And if you like the podcast, please rate and review and follow or subscribe, and you'll be notified every time we post a new episode. So Paul Begala is a CNN political commentator, consultant, and New York Times best-selling author. His most recent book was the election year hit, You're Fired, The Perfect Guide to Beating Donald Trump. He's also been a columnist for Newsweek and The Daily Beast, and was one of the founding contributing editors of his late friend JFK Jr.'s magazine, George. But perhaps most notably, he helped engineer Bill Clinton's winning presidential campaign in 1992 with his partner, James Carville. He later served as counselor to the president, serving as one of President Clinton's closest aides and coordinating policy, politics, and communications. In the 2012 campaign, Paul was a senior advisor for the pro-Obama Super PAC, making him one of the few people to play a critical role in electing two different presidents. Paul, welcome back into the back room.
Andy, always love being in the back room with you, brother.
So we had a great week, if you're a Democrat, that is. And give me your takeaways. What did you make out of what happened yesterday?
You know, there's only two messages in life, not just politics. Stay the course or time for a change. Right? That's true for your sports team, for your relationships, for everything. People really, really want to change course. They're really unhappy with the direction that Donald Trump and his wannabe autocrats are taking us. And to me, it's about cost and corruption. You know, the election was mostly about cost, but don't sleep on corruption.
Can I throw another C in there? Chaos.
Yes. Chaos. Good point. And cruelty. There's so many.
4.
We could write a song.
We could.
You could. You're an action musician. Yeah. So I think, having been a White House aide, I put my head in there. I don't think they told him. I don't think they told Trump this was coming. I think they're scared of him. And, you know, when President Obama got whipped in his first midterm, Bill Clinton got whipped in his, Bush got whipped in his second midterm, they knew it was coming. They're good politicians. They had honest advisors who said, sir, this is really going to be bad. I think that poor old man is just clueless Joe Jackson. Okay, and I think they're lying to him, and this is going to hit him, this reality sandwich, very, very hard. Now, the problem is he doesn't have the, moral integrity to do what Clinton and Obama did, to say, whoa, I got to calibrate. I got to listen. I got to change. I got to reach out. So I don't know what he'll do. But I know what voters are doing. They're saying, we don't want this. We want to change. And it's universal. We haven't won a non-federal statewide election in Georgia in 18 years. We won 2 yesterday. This week. We're winning everywhere. You know, it's great that we won in New York City. Virginia, you know, currently has a Republican governor, Republican lieutenant governor, Republican attorney general. And Abigail Spanberger won the biggest landslide in my lifetime. And by the way, sweeping in a much more modestly gifted lieutenant governor and a deeply problematic attorney general candidate. So there's something big going on.
And that reality sandwich is what?
People want change. The rent is too GD high, man. The hamburger is $6.35 a pound. That's the highest in the history of hamburger. Oh, well, we'll be vegetarians then. Well, vegetables are up 40% because we got nobody to pick them and no place to bring them in from. Costs are through the roof. Utility costs, your electric bill. Man, oh man, insurance. Health insurance, which they're trying to drive through the roof, but also, don't sleep on this, property and casualty insurance, homeowners insurance. It's pricing young people out of the housing market. In places like my beloved Texas or in Florida or Louisiana, places that get these big storms, insurance is going through the roof and people can't pay the insurance bill. They can't buy a house, and sometimes they can't sell the house because people won't insure it. So the cost of living everywhere you turn is killing people. And you look at the data, Donald Trump did not win because of immigration. That was big, but it was by far the secondary issue. The primary issue was cost of living. And I've looked at the exit polling, I've talked to a lot of voters. Mikey Sherrill, Abigail Spanberger, Zoran Mamdani, everybody else who won, They won because the cost of living is too damn high. And Donald Trump is part of the problem, not part of the solution. He's jacking up your light bill by killing cheap renewable energy. He's jacking up your insurance bill by being in bed with the fossil fuel industry that's causing these storms. He's jacking up your health care bill by taking away the Obama-Biden assistance that we have for our health insurance. He's jacking up the cost of your groceries with his stupid tariffs and his cruel deportations. So everywhere you turn, he's raising the cost of living the American dream. And that's something Democrats have figured out, and that's why they won so big.
And, everybody always loves to analyze why did Democrats, for example, win so big. So it was a referendum on Trump to Democrats hit the mark with their messaging. Is it all of the above?
Right. It is all of the above. I mean, look, Mr. Trump is doing a terrible job. Now, it frustrates me that he's not at 0 in the polls, okay? But I have family and friends who are
there's always time, Paul.
But I don't think he'll ever go below. He's about 40 now, 37 in some polls. He'll never go below that. He's got an absolute floor. And it's because people who love him, they love him. And God bless them. We love them. But they're trapped in an information ecosystem. They're not getting honest information.
All of them, or do you see some starting to peel off?
Well, that's a good point. A lot are starting to peel off. And it's one of these last in, first out. So except for California, there weren't very many places with a lot of Hispanic voters this week, except Passaic County, New Jersey.
Right.
Which is plurality. It's almost majority. Plurality Hispanic. And which Donald Trump, to his great credit, won by 3 points. It used to be a very Democratic area. Donald Trump won. Mikey Sherrill won by double digits yesterday.
Yep.
Hispanics, I'm seeing this in Texas where I have a lot of family and friends. My son Billy is in Austin. These Hispanics who turned to Trump, he's dropped 25 points among those folks. And you watch, my son told me this. He's like 2 or 3 of those districts that they think are Republican districts because they're so Hispanic and they're Trump Hispanics. They're not staying Hispanic. They're not staying Trump. They're staying Hispanic, but they're not staying Trumpy. And Democrats can win them back if we make the case that we're actually the folks who are going to make it cheaper for them to live a decent American life.
Yeah. Another thing we saw yesterday is another major constituency that Trump had, and that's young men.
Yes.
Shifted back to Spanberger, to Mikey Sherrill. What do you think's going on there?
He's betrayed them. He stabbed them in the back. And it's why I think our side needs to be we need to be gracious.
Let me ask you, do you think that we're now seeing the result of what we saw in the last few months with the Joe Rogans and the Andrew Schultzes, all the bro podcasters who started to turn on him? Did we see at the polls yesterday the effect of that, the impact of that?
Yes, I think that's part of it. They seem to be more troubled, rightly, by the raids, the deportations and so forth. I think the voters are still much more concerned about cost of living. But it's all in a stew. And Trump, I'm maybe not being fair, but I just get into where I don't like the guy.
Well, you're being kind.
And one of the things I really dislike most about him is that he betrays the people who entrusted him with their votes.
He betrays everyone, though.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes, he stabs them in the back.
Even his most loyal supporters, his most loyal trusted aides,
yes. Everyone. He tried to get people to murder. Well, he didn't try. He seemed to approve of people chanting, murder Trump's vice president, right? Murder Mike Pence. But those folks, these are good people. I grew up with them. And they were fed up with my party, and they thought we were arrogant, elitist, and culturally wrong. They took a chance on this guy. Young men, Hispanics, young black men, where Trump really made inroads, and he has stabbed them in the back. It is a massive betrayal. And it's really, a good politician rewards his voters. A great politician reaches out to people who didn't vote for her or him.
Well, that suggests that that politician has to have a plan.
That's a good point.
I think
this guy has a plan.
Core philosophy.
I think he's got a plan. I think he wants to loot everything in sight.
He's doing a good job of that.
And I think he is an autocrat.
Yeah.
But a good politician rewards his voters. A great politician reaches out to new voters. A stupid politician punishes his own voters. And when he cuts off food assistance, he's hurting red counties, red cities, red states far more. Now, I care about everybody. But the people who rely on SNAP are much more of the demographic who voted for Donald Trump. Most people on welfare are white. You know that, but a lot of people think because of the racial tendencies of our media. By the way, most people on Medicaid voted for Trump. And so he's almost literally killing people getting the Obamacare subsidies. They're Trump voters. He won the votes of people who make less than $50,000 a year. I honor that. I'm furious that my party lost them. But what's worse than that is he's stabbing those folks in the back. To have his garish Gatsby gala at that disgusting country club of his, mocking working class folks. So I think people are really pissed, and the Democrats are a vehicle for that. And I think this points the way to a massive midterm. I said this before this week's elections. I'll say it again. 40. Democrats are going to gain 40 or more seats. If you know Hakeem Jeffries, kiss his ass, because he's about to be a very powerful man.
So let me ask you this. There's a very well-known political operative. You may have heard of him, James Carville. He has this mantra, it's the economy stupid. How much of what happened yesterday do you think is the economy? And what you just said about the midterms, how much do you think this just runs into that next year?
Of course, I love James. We've been partners for 40 years. We talk every single day. Still do. It's still the economy. Now, culture matters. And I think we lost a lot of voters because they perceived us as being culturally out of touch. So you can't discount that. But fundamentally, the reason we have a Democratic Party is so people can live the middle-class American dream. I mean, the Democrats invented the weekend. You're welcome. We invented the middle class. The middle class pretty much invented the modern Democratic Party. So that's really got to be the core of our argument. And from Zohran Mamdani, who's way out there, barely a Democrat, all the way to Mikey Sherrill, helicopter pilot, and Abigail Spanberger, CIA agent, everybody was aligned. This is something we're not used to.
Right.
Democrats in array.
The big tent in action.
The big tent, and we got to deliver on these middle class, working class, poor people's needs on the economy. And when we focus on that, everybody does better. The economy does it. By the way, rich people do better. The wealthiest family in America is the Walton family, who owned Walmart, and they got rich off of poor and working class people. So if they have more money, guess what? They go to Walmart and they buy another toaster, and the Waltons make even more billions. So I'm not against rich people, but the best thing could ever happen to rich people would be if poor and working class folks were lifted up.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about Mamdani for a second, because in the last 18 hours or so, Republicans were making him out to be the big scary boogeyman. He's now the face of the party. Right. This is what the Democrats are giving you. Marxism, socialism. I mean, I've seen Nazis. I've seen all kinds of craziness. But what do you think the impact will be to Democrats in how they're perceived by voters, independent voters in particular, moving from this point through to the midterms? In your opinion, is he the face of the party now?
No. It's preposterous. Okay, he got 50.4%. He won. I respect that. I respect the winner. By the way, important note to the left, he didn't run on all that cultural woke shit.
Right.
He ran on cost of living. He didn't lecture you about your pronouns and your identity. Okay, I admire that. I don't share his politics. I don't share his economics. But I admire the way he ran his campaign.
And it's interesting what you just said before about Spanberger and right. Mikey Sherrill, because the three of them ran on the same stuff.
Absolutely.
And they're going from centrist Democrats to a progressive.
But look at how he did. It's the poorest performance for a successful Democrat in New York City in my lifetime. The weakest victory I have ever seen. 50.4. Put it into context. Bill de Blasio got 73. Did that make Bill the face of the party? Eric Adams got 67. Did that make him the face of the party? Joe Biden got 79. Hillary got 79. Joe got 76, sorry. Kamala got 68. So this guy underperformed Kamala by 18 points. Okay, Mikey outperformed Kamala significantly by like 4 or 5 points. Abigail outperformed Kamala by 4 or 5 points. They won by 17 and 15 points. Zohran won by 9. So like if I were advising him, I'd say, dude, you got a lot of work to do. You have to face a shit. You are the new mayor of the most important city in America. You got to reach out. You got to be more inclusive. So he's got his work cut out for him. But the notion that somebody who like limped across I know he had a 3-way race. By the way, so did Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton got, I looked it up, 77.
Mm-hmm.
But running against Ross Perot and Bob Dole, a war hero. Much more impressive opponents than Curtis Sliwa and Andrew Cuomo. Okay, so I'm not impressed. I'm impressed with how he ran his campaign. I'm really impressed with his talent. But that tells you something. If the most talented communicator I have seen in years can barely win in the reddest city this side of Beijing, it really might be that even Democrats don't want no damn socialism.
Do you think with Mamdani, the effect he had on Gen Z and millennials, energizing them, exciting them, bringing them to the polls in record numbers, this has been a problem for Democrats over the years, also for Republicans. I mean, young people traditionally don't vote. They're at 30% or under, as turnout is among that group. Do you think this spills over into other elections, or do you think it was candidate specific?
Well, Mikey and Abigail also really surged with younger voters. Huge surge. The fact that Kamala fell back with them, I don't blame her as much, but it was a heartbreak. The fact that Democrats retreated so badly in their support with young people. So that was across the board. A lot of it rejection of Trump. A lot of it, these folks are so hungry for anybody who could talk about their ability to earn a decent living and live a decent life. And again, Zoran did that, Abigail did that, Mikey did that. So I think that's what's behind it. I was struck with the New York results that Zoran, his strongest subgroup, was white people with a college education. He got 55. Much better than he did generally. He only got 38 among the working class. So spare me the lectures of quoting Eugene V. Debs and that he's a working class hero. Working class is really resistant to Zoran in a way they're not resistant to Mikey and Abigail. So he's got a ton of work to do. I really do wish him well. I have family, friends in New York City. It's a great place. So I really, really want him to succeed. But he's got to come into this with a degree of inclusiveness, I think, that I didn't see in the election night speech. Maybe that's why I'm so angry with him, because the election night speech was so different from the happy warrior, inclusive, witty, warm guy we saw in the campaign.
It was pretty fiery, especially when it came to Trump. What did you make of that, his comments towards Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I can't stand Trump either. I'm sort of with him on that. I thought it was distinctly ungracious how he talked about Andrew Cuomo. Contrast that with Abigail Spanberger. Again, Cuomo, he was pushed out of office for a good reason.
No, it got ugly on... Cuomo was pretty ugly in the last few days of that election.
Absolutely. But the Spanberger-Sears race in Virginia got really ugly. When Morrill Sears was running, the majority of her ads and her allies' ads were demagoguing trans kids. It's just vicious, just hateful, really awful. Abigail Spanberger went out of her way to wish Winsome well, to salute her service in the Marine Corps and as lieutenant governor. And that's what you do. And both Mikey and Abigail went out of their way to say, if you didn't vote for me, I want to work for you. And I think whoever wrote that for Zoran, I know you're jacked up, and I've had a lot of, overheated comments of my own. But that's the moment, where you're really introducing yourself as the mayor-elect, or the governor-elect.
Right.
And I really want an inclusive. It's fine to pick a fight with Trump. I love that. I thought he did better in the debate when he said, if you are coming to our churches and mosques and synagogues to deport our kids, I'm going to fight you. But if you want to lower the cost of living, I'll work with Donald Trump or anybody. I thought, man, that's a guy on a message. And but I think that's much more why he won, is that he was focused on cost of living. I think last night, I should give him more grace. I'm being too much of a jerk, but he wasn't the same guy who won that election last night. I thought. I was disappointed.
Let me ask you about the impact that these results this week might have on two pressing issues that are taking place right now. One is we're in day 35 of the shutdown. The other is this I don't know if you've been checking it out at all, but I've been listening to this Supreme Court hearing on tariffs, which is crazy. But do you think there will be any impact, within the Republican Congressional Caucus on capitulating, given the ass whooping they got yesterday, and the throwing under the bus that Trump gave them late night in his Truth Social post about the shutdown? And then B, the Supreme Court, might they feel a little bit more emboldened to rule against him now that they sort of have their ear to the ground and see where the wind is blowing in the country?
Let me start with the politicians. Apparently, President Trump said, I am the Speaker of the House. It was reported that he said that. And he's right. God help us. So I think that those spineless Republicans in the House and the Senate are more afraid of Trump than they are their voters.
Of course.
Some of them, Mitt Romney said this. He said some of them are really worried for their personal security, which is harrowing. So I don't think it'll have the kind of salutary effect it ought to have. They got to make a deal. And Democrats have been really good about focusing on one thing. This is the dumbest shutdown I've ever seen. When they shut down a government, Newt did on Bill Clinton, he was trying to get Clinton to cut Medicare $270 billion. Bad policy, bad politics. And Clinton's like, I'm just not going to do it. And he had this famous showdown where he stood at the Resolute desk with Newt and said, you're going to have to put somebody else behind this desk if you want them to sign those kind of cuts to Medicare, Newt. Gary Cooper behind Newt. It was great. But they were trying to get him to do something deeply unpopular. The Democrats are trying to get Trump to do something that's wildly popular. It's like telling me, okay, Paul, you can go to the Texas-Georgia game this weekend, but you got to drink beer.
Right.
What's the catch? I mean, that's how stupid Trump is. I'm sorry, but he's so effing stupid that the Democrats are giving him a chance to get well on the issue where he's weakest to help his own voters, who are more than our voters relying on Obamacare. And he's too dumb to take it. They're not asking him to give back the stupid, corrupt plane. You know, they're not asking him to put the East Wing back up. You know, they're not asking him to do anything that would be difficult. It makes me crazy. You can tell.
Yeah, I think he's dumb, but I think it's deeper than that. I think it's his sociopathy. Like, he cannot admit. You're talking about somebody who's able to sit down at the table and go, all right, guys, we pushed this for 35 days. It's not looking well for us. Look what happened yesterday. Let's give a little and see what that's not in his DNA. His DNA is, I don't say I'm sorry. I don't say I'm a loser. And that's where you could see, like, this could go on forever, because I think you're right. I think they listen to him. So if he's not telling them, all right, it's time, they're not going to do it, especially when you get this Epstein thing looming, which is why they haven't been, in session. So it's just all this craziness.
You're right. Yeah. You're right, Andy. I'm analyzing this from what the physicists would say, a non-inertial frame of reference, right? I mean, I'm standing outside the car and saying, if you toss that ball out, it's going to go 70 miles an hour. But if you stay inside the car, the kid in the backseat can catch it easily, right? So you're right and I'm wrong. Okay, I'm thinking like Trump's a normal guy. The 95 shutdown ended because Bob Dole walked in and turned to Newt and said one word: enough.
Right.
And
imagine Trump saying that.
Trump can't say it, but these guys, Johnson and Thune, they can't say it. They're so cowed you can hear them moo. And you're right that I have never really, honestly, had a good analysis of Trump, because I keep projecting. I'm blessed. I've known several presidents. I keep projecting onto him the attributes, Republican and Democrat. I knew Bush when he was my governor in Texas. I project onto him the kind of sensible politician.
You can't do that.
He's just not. You're right. He's a sociopath. You're right.
Yeah. Whenever George Conway comes on the podcast, we always end up joking about, like, why the news people, like, will have the panels and they'll be like, why would Trump say that today? And he and I are like, because he's a fucking sociopath. That's why.
That's so right.
And so you got to analyze him through the lens. It's like being in his brain. You can't be in your brain, because then you're going to drive yourself crazy, because we're normal.
In 2015, when he first slithered down that escalator, and I couldn't stand him then, Maggie Haberman, the New York Times, also CNN, my colleague there, she said something to me I've never forgotten. She's very tough. And she's like, you'll never get Trump, and you'll never get him right. And I was like, okay, I do this for a living. Why? And she said, because you're a strategist, and you see A and then B, and you're like, oh, he's going to C. And she's like, no, he goes A, B, penguin. It's
right.
And she said that. She's like, I hate to.
The weave. It's the weave, Paul.
But you're right that it's not that he's unpredictable. It's that he's a sociopath, not a Republican or a president. So it's all about him.
All the time. Last question. Was Gavin Newsom a big winner last night? And
I should have mentioned it. Yes.
Is he the man going forward? Is he it for 28?
He vaults to the front of the pack right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love politicians who take a risk.
Mm-hmm. He sure did.
Many of them are so risk averse. This was a huge risk. Greg Abbott took no risk in gerrymandering Texas, except it may blow up in his face, but he didn't have to go to the voters. Gavin went to the voters and took on a really popular thing among his voters, the kind of nonpartisan redistricting that Arnold championed, which is a very good idea.
I don't think we should be district.
That's perfect. So he took a huge gamble. He pushed all the chips in. There was nothing else to bring out voters. He got 64%. So yes, I am so high on him right now. It's a long road, but holy smokes, did he show me at what we say in Texas, cojones. And I want that in my president and my presidential candidates. So yeah, kudos to Gavin. I should have started with that. That may be the biggest story coming out of this election.
Yeah, well, in New York, we call it big balls. Paul, I can't think of anybody else I'd rather unpack yesterday with but you. Thanks for coming back on. Great insights. And let's hope this momentum keeps up.
Absolutely. Andy, it's always great. I love doing this. Thanks.
All righty. Take care. This episode was produced and edited by me, Andy Ostroy. It was co-produced by Maddie Rosenberg and Jen Hammoud for Radio Free Rhinecliff, with additional editing by Maddie Rosenberg, music by Andrew Hollander, and graphic design by Cricket Lengale. And with a special thanks to our sponsor, The Epicurean. Again, thanks for listening. Please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to the Backroom with Andy Ostroy YouTube channel, where you can watch full videos of our interviews. See you next time.